So here we are, season 12 is right round the corner for Formula E, and this video has been designed for new and returning fans to remind you guys or teach you all the elements in Formula E that are quite unique and what makes this sport so electrifying. And yes, it is a full electric racing series, and we're in our final stages of the Gen 3, we call this the Gen 3 Evo Car. This is the Porsche, one of the most stronger cars of the last constructors, and is definitely very good in its royal purple. But this is the last time we'll be seeing this type of car on track before we move to the new regulations in 2026, 2027. And I say it like that because in Formula E we race over kind of 2 years. We're starting in December 2025 and we go all the way to August, where we finish at the XL Arena in London, which is one of the most unique tracks, and I'm very excited that I'll have the opportunity to go to the race next year. It's weird saying it that, but it is next year in 2026. In terms of teams, we have 20 fantastic teams in Formula E. We did have 22, but McLaren sadly pulled out of Formula E and have moved on, so we are left with 20 teams. We've had a few rebrands. We've now got Citroën, which have replaced Maserati. The calendar this year has been reconfigured. We have 17 races across 11 rounds, and the way this works, some of our rounds will have 2 races. We call this a double header. It does include 2 qualifying sessions and 2 races, and they are essentially separate entities, so we get 2 different races, which means we can have a title and a constructor change in one weekend, and it is pretty awesome. The only difference between the races is something called Pitboost, but I'll come back to that when we talk more about the power-ups, the gamified section of Formula E. And as much as that can put some people off the sport, some of it makes it more interesting. Attack mode has got to be one of the most unique regulations to motorsport, essentially a power-up for the drivers to choose whenever they like. In our current generation, they are rear-wheel drive cars, and when they go over this strip, they have 8 minutes of extra power as the car turns all-wheel, giving them more grip and more power. And we saw some extremely brilliant tactical and fast overtakes last season. And attack mode is a great addition to Formula E. It basically essentially takes the driver off the racing line for 3 seconds, but they can earn that back by using the attack mode. And all drivers have to use the same amount of time and the same amount of power, which gives it a level playing field. Some see it as a pit stop where they don't have to stop, almost having like fresher, warmer tyres due to the additional grip. Those rules will be changing in Gen 4 due to the fact that the cars will all be all-wheel drive, but for Gen 3 it's an absolute masterclass. Pitboost is the other unique regulation to Formula E, essentially a charge stop. Within 30 seconds they get 10% of power extra to use in the race, and obviously it allows the drivers to push harder, essentially giving them 10% more charge than they would have in the non-pit boost race. We had a unique scenario last season where a driver did his pit boost stop and then a red flag came out and he won almost with a 15-second gap and had time to crash into the barriers. It was a wet race, so we'll let him off with that, but there was such a strategy masterclass to pull that in. So obviously I think they've changed the regulations so that won't happen again, but it was definitely interesting for Stoffel van Dorn to almost win a race with the pit stop in hand, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, Formula E qualifying is also very unique. It's very similar to actually how the Football World Cup works. We have a group stage where the odd numbers of the championship and the even numbers of the Drivers' Championship get split into 2 groups. And the top 4 of the fastest times in those group sessions go through to a knockout stage with a quarter-final, a semi-final, and then a final. And what makes this so much better is they turn the power up of the motors, so you're always going to have the fastest in the final, and that is how you achieve pole position. And along with all the hard work of the knockout stages and the group stage, you will be awarded 3 extra points for winning that duel section. There's also an additional point for fastest lap in the race, and the point system is very similar to the current Grand Prix format with 25, 18, 15, 12, 10, and then the even numbers down to 0 to 10th position. So yeah, the point system has been questioned in the community. Is there a better one, especially with the potential next season to have 24 cars on the grid? Obviously if you come 12th you're halfway down, however you still score 0, but that is not for today. But the point system looks like this. There's obviously the additional points for fastest lap and the additional points for winning the duels. The duels can get quite intense, especially if you've got teammates going against teammates, knocking each other out onto the grid, because obviously as the championship is always quite close, you need to be scoring the best you can in qualifying. Although it's not always the fastest wins, as in last Sao Paulo's race, we had Mitch Evans win from last position. So Formula E loves to throw some chaotic surprises. But this next bit, I kind of want to do a previously in Formula E, because I want to talk about some of the drivers, what to look out for. As a new fan or a recurring fan, it might be interesting just to know, I guess, the drama on track. What are we supposed to be looking out for in race one? I'm going to start off with Oliver Rowland, who drives for Nissan, will be defending his title as he is the current Formula E winner. He will be racing in the #1 car this year. He's a very talented driver, and I believe this could have been his second had another season gone sort of his way. So he's a very talented driver, definitely really earned that championship last year, very quick in the beginning stages. So he's definitely one to watch as our champion. Our previous champion, Pascal Wehrlein, drives for Porsche, who won the Constructors' Championship last year. Surprisingly, I don't know how they did by the dramas that seems to be coming out between Pascal and his teammate, Antonio Felix da Costa. These boys won the championship on the Constructors by both scoring over 100 points, which was, I think, the only team to do that. However, this season, da Costa has moved from Porsche into Jaguar, which is another top team. Before da Costa had moved to Jaguar, we have Nick Cassidy. He's definitely one to watch. He's now moved to Citroën, which of course have rebranded from Maserati. Cassidy won the last 3 races and almost could have won the championship had there been a couple more rounds. He was extremely on form, so it'll be interesting to see if the form carries on from Jaguar into Citroën. Mitch Evans, accompanied by Felix da Costa this year, as I mentioned. I believe this is the strongest pairing on the grid. Everyone's going to disagree, and please do, because I'm a big Jag supporter, so I will always back those two to win the Constructors, but we have some very strong pairings. A team that's at the back, though, is Lola Yamaha. Last year, they were completely off the pace. They've got some talented drivers in, and I just think that if the machinery can pick up, then this team is one to watch. I'm hoping, before we go into Gen 4, that this team sees some success. Obviously, they're a fairly new powertrain, hence why they are at the back. They're sort of last in the R&D, but Zane Maloney, one of probably F2's better drivers to come out of that series, could really do with a good season this year to show how good he is as a driver. Lola Yamaha looks slightly behind at testing, but I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that they don't. Another team returning to form is Mahindra. This was one of the OG Formula E teams, and they've had some mid-seasons over the last couple of years, but in testing it looked almost like one of the strongest teams. And their pairing of Nick De Vries and Edo Mortara are definitely going to bring themselves into the top 4 at least, I'd hope. And this is what I'm really banking on, is the Constructors this year is going to change week on week. Now, before I go any further, I would just like to say, if you can like and also subscribe to support my journey through Formula E, that would be fantastic. The community so far has been absolutely brilliant, and to have you part of it as well, you know, giving your comments and opinions and telling me that da Costa's bad is what I'm here for. Formula E is a very small sport, I would say, at the moment, and I want to grow with it way past the Gen 4 era, because it is a fantastic sport. And the drivers are brilliant, the cars are brilliant, and the tracks are just getting better and better year on year. And as the sport grows, it's obviously going to quadruple and explode into the mainstream. So, and obviously I've done this video today to support new fans. I've only been watching the sport 2 years, kinda, not even religiously, and it's only this season that I'm just glued to it. It does help that I have an electric vehicle myself, and I love the way they drive. They're just nippy, and I really do understand what the drivers go through when they talk about that torque and regen braking, and it does make it a bit more of a connection to me. But the sport carries itself. You don't need an electric car to understand that. If you do want to find more information about Formula E and get on top of it, Amazon Prime do a Formula E driver series, very similar to what you might know as Drive to Survive from Formula 1. Very dramatic, tells the stories in the paddock and the dramas that have gone on. And that's where we've seen this massive feud between Pascal Wehrlein and da Costa. And, you know, they ham it up for TV. but you could tell the tension was there anyway, but we didn't see it as that bad. Dan Ticktum's on it. He is very characteristic and, you know, brings a lot to the paddock, so it's good to see that he's got some episodes as well, because I'm sure he's going to carry the series like Jake Dennis did in season 1. I just want to do some honourable mentions in the Formula E community. We have Formula E Zone, who I would say is the OG content creators of Formula E. These guys do absolutely fantastic. They do the Formula E God's work, shall we say. They do the scoops, they do interviews, they're there at testing the whole week. They've done a live stream, and they even have their own magazine. And the live stream I want to mention is something for you guys to join in as well. They have an amazing Discord with a really good community who've supported me through my journey in Formula E as well. So without those guys, I don't think I would have grown as fast. And I think the hard work that they put in, especially giving you a say on their live stream, is just fantastic. So thank you guys. I also want to mention SB10. He's an analytical season recap genius. He's done some brilliantly edited videos. He really thinks about the quality of them, and they really are interesting to watch. Season recaps with memes, essentially, and it really can get you to understand what happened in season 1. I think he's done recaps all the way to season 4, and I'm sure if we keep poking him, we'll get all the way to season 11. So it's definitely worth watching. He's very well spoken. He knows his stuff about Formula E and has some absolutely fantastic videos. The last content creator I want to mention is Fiercely Electric. She is a fantastic content creator with a web page and an Instagram that has the hot scoop of not just Formula E news, but straight off the teams as well from their TikToks and Instagrams. The Instagram's a great way to consume a lot of the news that's going on in Formula E, especially if there's quite a bit over the day. The story on there is really good to just catch up with what's going on, especially with the Gen 4. I swear your page had more than Formula E's webpage did at one point of the secret car of Gen 4. So I just want to throw that on there because it's really consumable and just great media, and also the website is great for the in-depth stuff as well. They're a photographer in the Formula E community. I also want to mention that they do some great photography, and I hope to see some of the stuff you do across season 12, because I know you did some stuff at season 11 that looked fantastic. And one final mention, she's a massive Dan Ticktum fan, and I think it's great that you own the person that you support. That sounds weird. That's not what I meant. But, you know, as a DaCosta fan and seeing all the other community members having a go-to driver is always good. So definitely go check them out. And in terms of my content, I didn't want to do me and then just throw these guys in. Obviously, I've got this channel now. We talk about Formula E and just trying to bring people into it. I've got 2 dedicated series across season 12. We have Unscripted, which goes a bit like this. Hello everybody and welcome to Unscripted. My name is Kyle. I've made some bullet points about what I've just watched in Formula E. I'm not going to take a breath until I finish my bullet points, rip out the paper, chuck it in the bin. That's the series to a T. It started as a test when I did the sort of pre-season testing. I was very annoyed DaCosta didn't have a seat and I was making a rage video, and then kind of became a series, and the community and you guys loved it, and the comments we get just makes me want to keep it all the way through season 12. So we'll be doing Unscripted as a raw, you know, it is meant to provoke conversation and sort of give my own opinions on the sport from what I witness, because we all view it differently, we all follow different drivers, and I think it's great to give my perspective and have you guys shout me out, tell me I'm wrong, and yeah, just have a bit of a laugh with the community, because it is good fun to just have that conversation. And then we also have another show, which I'm not doing on my own. For the first time on the channel, I'm going to have somebody supporting me. I've recruited my younger brother, who is also a massive motorsport fan. He's done MotoGP, Formula 1, all those, and has now decided he's going to join me on this journey in Formula E, where we predict not only the duels, but the podiums, who we think is going to do well, who we think is going to do bad, and also do it from such of a new perspective as well. We're not nerds of Formula E. We have very varied knowledge. We're very similar, joined the sport at a very similar time. So, you know, we've kind of got equal amount of getting it wrong, equal amount of getting it right, and I'm looking forward to bringing that. And it's something you'll be able to join in as well. We're going to make sure that you can put your inputs on, and we may bring that into the future of the show, but it's something I'm really glad I get to announce now, because I've been keeping it a secret, and we spent hours on the graphics. They look pretty cool. This is some of the examples of it, so please follow us on the journey. We will make an audio version if you have long commutes and want to hear 2 idiots talk about Formula E, and I'll brand us as idiots because it just makes it so much more fun. But yeah, Corey's going to join me on that. It's going to be fantastic, and we're going to do it for every race event, like as in the weekend, not particularly every single race, because the editing with that is insane. Yeah, I think that's it. I think I've covered the best I can to introduce you to the Formula E world, or just recap you on what's been going on since season 11 to season 12 and the amazing content creators that we have in this sphere that we call Formula E. And of course, support my journey, support their journeys, and really just enjoy the sport. Yeah, with that said, I guess if you're new around here, this is the current lap.